Okay, it's starting. Oh, man. Whatever. Just is it working? Yeah, almost done. 1 second. It should be working now. Awesome. Let me just check, and then I'll do that. You can start. Can I get out of this? Oh, look at, can you just find a chair over there? Just a whole room of dark people. There's like, how many people are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 people.
It's not 1 p.m. yet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, do you know how to, just want to make Zoom not full screen so I can check the screens? I hate Zoom.
You want to do it?
I just want to, where is the little,
Do a double click.
okay, I did. Oh, yeah, word. Okay, thank you. Is that, are we on or what? Should be live now. Yeah, yeah. Wear your mask. Yeah, I'm just waiting for. Roll on. Roll on. Okay. Well, I guess it's working. Let's start things off. Okay, Justin, you ready? Okay. All right, guys. So we're gonna begin. Justin, can you introduce yourself and let's. Okay.
Oh. Much better, much better. Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon. Oh, this is all pain in the ass too. Now you can hear me, yes?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I just need to get the Zoom screen to be full screen. There we go. And then we can, I guess we can make it even more full screen somehow. Share, the screen is being shared. How do you make it full screen? Oh, I think that's it. I got it. Perfect. Okay, we're good. Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, guys, can you hear him? Da.
Da.
Just speak English, please. Yeah, they can hear you. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Justin, and I'm very happy to be with you in Arkhangelsk. I was actually in Arkhangelsk once before with my body, not just with my face. I went to visit Solovki. I think there's a boat from Arkhangelsk to Solovki, yes? Is that correct?
That's up, yeah.
Okay, good. So, but I look forward to coming back with my body again sometime when that's allowed. But for today, I'm happy to be with you, and I will stay in English mostly, although I understand and speak Russian pretty good. So if there's any questions, you can ask, you can interrupt, and you can ask in Russian if you're more comfortable.
Колонки, если есть вопросы, по-русски он все понимает, так что просто скажите, я не понимаю, реально, это очень важно, чтобы была коммуникация. Okay, thanks, Justin. Yep.
Okay, and occasionally I might highlight a word, since you are an English-speaking club, that I think is good to know, or a phrase or something like that. So yes, my name is Justin. I'm 56 years old. I have lived in Russia since 1987. It wasn't Russia then, it was the Soviet Union. and that's a whole nother story, which maybe I'll tell when I come to Arkhangelsk. But I am also a Russian citizen and proud of it, and proud of being an American citizen. So you can imagine I'm a little confused these days. But I'm going to tell you about my hobby, which is loosely called humanitarian clowning. So yes, and we have a concept, or maybe your first question might be not only what is humanitarian clowning, but why do people do it? And there is an idiomatic phrase in English, give till it hurts. Отдай пока вам не больно. And this is more like give till it stops hurting, because as I will attempt to explain, clowning is a form of therapy. So here we have our hero, our main guru, a man who invented humanitarian clowning. His name is Pатch Адамс, and you see him in the airport of Sheremetyevo. And can anyone guess what he has in his hands? Can you see the picture?
Bag.
A little louder.
Very good.
Any ideas?
Something like a bag.
It's like a bag, okay. It's really a pair of underwear. And it's a giant pair of underwear, trusi. And what Patch likes to do is to get strangers to stand in his underwear. The giant pair, a number of strangers. I might have a picture of that later. But let's go back and talk about what or who Patch is. Many of you know the actor Robin Williams, and he starred in a movie that came out in 1998 called Patch Адамс. You can find it in Russian under the title Целитель Адамс, I think. The healer, Adams the healer. Yes? And this is the story of Patch's youth as a medical student, and he rebels against the idea of very serious teaching of medical students. He thinks that health can be found through humor, and he has lived his life by that concept. So the idea is that Patch started coming to Russia in 1987. He was part of a delegation sponsored by the World Peace Council, which was a part of the Russian Soviet government. And he always dresses in these interesting clothes. And as part of that, not that visit, but a later visit, he really liked Russia. He reads a lot. He's quite an intellectual. He does not use the internet. He's proud of that. If you send Patch a letter via snail mail, and I can help you get his address if you should want to do that, he will answer it via snail mail. So he writes by hand letters all the time. That's how he communicates with the outside world. He also does Zooms, and we can talk about what clowning is in the COVID world a little bit later, but I want to explain it. So on one of his visits, he met a young woman named Maria, who had already begun to dedicate her life to working with orphans. And Patch called her on the phone even when she didn't speak English, but she spoke a little English, and she was so determined to learn what this strange creature was that she got together and joined him on a visit to St. Petersburg, to an orphanage where they did some clowning. Maria was an art student. She studied at the St. Petersburg Puppet Theater and the Moscow Artists Puppet School and a Moscow Art University. And she got her degrees there. And she already had 3 daughters when she met the young man you can see in the left. I don't know if anybody recognizes him. His name is Ilya Sigalovich, and he's one of the founders of Yandex. And Ilya was your basic kind of computer geek, по-русски botanik, maybe. But he wound up formatting an article on one of his computers in the early Yandex office, where Maria was writing about her experience clowning, and he also liked to clown. Many clowns are introverts. Ilya was definitely an introvert. But as Patch likes to say, this is the world's smallest mask. And when you put on the mask, you can be different. You can be someone else. But anyway, Ilya and Maria were married, and Maria started meeting with Patch, and Patch started coming to Russia. And he came every year, at least once, since 1987. This past year, because of COVID, is the only year he hasn't come. He loves Russian literature. He loves the Russian people. He likes to say that the Russian people know how to laugh very deeply, very sincerely. So, and what Patch does is he has a story which he tells, and the idea is that in the movie, the last scene of the movie, Patch has opened a free medical clinic with his fellow students. And he did do that, but it didn't work from a financial and practical point of view. So Patch went on the road, as they say, and gives lectures. He has very interesting ideas about human relations and about medicine and healthcare and other social problems. He considers himself very much an activist or kind of a hippie activist. But one of the main things he does, and I would tell you to go to his website, but unfortunately it's blocked, not his website, but as many American internet providers are blocking Russian IP addresses. But if you have a VPN, you can go there. It's patchadams.org, and I can give you that link later. And is there a question?
No, I'm just saying, please do send us the link.
Okay. One of the main things that he's done for the past 30 years is go on international clown trips. And he collects volunteers who are not professional clowns. They're simply people who are interested in joining him and seeing what he does. Many of them have done it many times, some have never done it. And they come from around the world and they go to different countries. Not just Russia, but Russia is always his favorite. And you can see on the upper left, some clowns gathering at the airport in New York. And one of the rules is you have to dress as a clown as you're traveling. One of our internal rules, because you have to already get into the mood of clowning. And so there are 3 clowns who are coming to Russia. And there's Patch already in Moscow. He's landed and he's already decided to play some games with people. And you can see the giant pair of underpants in the Sheremetyevo 2 airport with different people that he's convinced to stand in the pair of underpants. And he will sing a song while this is going on, and of course attract lots of attention. Clowns do like to attract attention. I cannot deny that. Am I speaking too slowly or too quickly?
Okay.
It's okay. So yes, this happens in November, every November, except for last November. That's me waiting for to meet Patch and the other arriving clowns. And I don't know if you can see in the picture, but I'm basically making fun of the people around me with their telephones. My mascot or talisman is a giant rubber fish. And so I will pretend to call the people standing next to me on their phones, and they will maybe think about themselves as being a little bit funny or life being a bit funny. And that brings smiles. So that's, yes, question?
Was this costume provided to you, or did you make it yourself?
Someone's going to have to repeat the question closer to the microphone.
Am I understanding it correctly that you are in the middle?
That is me in the middle with the fish, yes.
Was the costume provided to you, or did you have to make it?
Ah, very good question. Yeah, you make your own costume. Again, it's a combination of creative passion and practicality. I learned early on it's important to have a practical costume. So the pants are American golfer pants. So people who play golf will sometimes dress in silly pants. And my brother, who does not think much of clowning, but he respects me, so he gave me the pants. The jacket was made by one of my Russian uncles, who's very creative, and the hat, which is an ushanka, which is very hot to wear all the time, particularly inside, but people like it. It has a duck and a snake sewn onto it. So yeah, you can make your own. You can buy some things too. It's really no rules. It's just how you feel comfortable and making the clown image. Everyone has a clown name. My clown name is Zhorik. I don't even really know why. I think sometimes I've used George as an alias, and I kind of like the way Zhorik sounds like, and it sounds like some Russian words that begin in zhe and that have a certain comic value to them. So I am Clown Zhorik. Right, yes. So here's a very important point. When we say clowning, we're not talking about entertaining. Ah, that's strange, you think. Clowns entertain. And if I'm not mistaken, the very famous and respected clown Slava Palunin is from Arkhangelsk, right? He was born there?
Oh. Yeah, right.
Yes, the audience says it's correct.
So the truth is there's a little bit of a friendly conflict between Patch and Slava, because Slava is a classic clown, a professional clown, an entertaining clown. And Patch says, I want nothing to do with that. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to make contact. As you can see in some of these pictures, this is about making contact. So it could be physical contact, like hugging. It could be dancing. It can be simply eye contact. If you're lucky enough to be speaking the language of the country you're in, it can be speaking contact, although most of the foreign clowns who come don't speak Russian. And when I've been on foreign clown trips, I don't speak Spanish or some of the other languages in the other countries. So you need to learn to go into contact with people without necessarily using words. This can be a problem because when we go to clown in a new place, usually we go to orphanages, to hospitals, to cancer wards, to old folks' homes, to homeless shelters, all kind of places where people don't get enough love and attention. And for an hour or two, we bring them some love and attention. Some of the places are regular places that we go to every year. Other places are sometimes new. And we've had the worst thing that can happen on a clown trip, of course, is that you come to a new place and they say, мы готовили актовый зал, заходи, все готовы. And everybody sits in a row and expects you to dance and sing. It's very difficult because we don't have a show prepared. We interact at an individual or small group level. So that's a big difference between Slava and Patch. And they actually have this kind of friendly public rivalry. I think they've debated sometimes. So yeah, that's you go ahead. Question?
Do they know each other?
Yes, they know each other, and they, as I said, they sort of publicly don't like each other. And we've even had some traumatized clowns from Palunin's troupe join our troupe, defectors, because they're more interested in the bringing joy in the contact way than the professional technique. I can point out that in many countries, even the hospital clowning is an official organization that you have to apply to join. The Europeans and the British, and you have to learn the proper rules to be around patients. Patch is against rules in general. He's a bit of an anarchist. So there is this kind of conflict between are you doing it professionally or not? I can comment more on that too. But like I say, it's about content. I mean, here's a woman on the right, an older woman. She's in an old folks home, maybe even a cancer ward. And I know the clown on the left speaks no Russian, and yet they're in contact. Sometimes a translator or a doctor or a helper will help explain something. But let's face it, people who are in these very lonely places, they just need someone to talk to. And they're not even concerned if you don't understand 100%. So you can use puppets or balloons or just your smile and make contact. Yes, this is in a children's cancer hospital, hospice in St. Petersburg. Some of the clowns are rather professional. The lady on the left with the in the upper picture, she's her name is Ginevra. She's from Milano. She runs a clown society there. She comes to Russia regularly, and she has a professional acting background. But again, she's not here because of that. She's here because she wants to be in contact with the kind of people that Pатch and so forth go in contact with. Now, this is from the Moscow Metro in the early 90s. And what do we see here? We see Patch, who loves to show his ugly old man legs to people, heading into the metro. And you can see the smiles on the faces of the people coming out of the metro who see him. And of course, the people who don't see him yet are looking their normal kind of gray and black Moscow metro look of the 90s, because there wasn't a lot to smile about back then. But we call this street clowning. And I have to admit, it's always fun. Always one of the highlights is when we go down into the metro, and you can almost feel the pulse of the city, a city, when you, I've noticed, for example, so there, if you go down the escalator and you look at the people coming up the escalator and you're trying to make contact by smiling or waving, or I have a horn that goes honk, honk, and you can get people's attention. And of course, all children notice. They notice everything instantly. Adults, usually in their own world, sometimes they don't notice anything. If there are two young people in love coming up the escalator, they might not notice you, and that's okay. The really fun ones I like to work on are the businessmen, because I've been a businessman, and they're very serious, and they'll try not to see you, and then they'll look, and then maybe they'll smile, and then they'll go back to being serious again, and you've made contact, and you get a nice little thrill from making contact. That's a big part of it. And very different groups. That's a veterans home on the upper left. On the lower left, we decided to make a peace treaty between the Ukraine and Russia by putting 2 bottles of vodka together and sharing them with the people wherever we were. And the picture on the right is also one of our professional guys who joins us. He's a French Canadian who's quite brilliant. So it really doesn't matter your set of skills. The important thing is that you're willing to join. So as I said, we have some veterans, and I'll expand briefly on this idea about give till it stops hurting and clown therapy. Because first of all, if you go on a clown trip or just hang out with clowns for an extended period of time, but a clown trip, the Russia clown trip is 2 weeks long. Other clown trips are more like 1 week, maybe 8 days. But you wind up, first of all, in a group of people that are like-minded. They clearly decided to do the same thing you do, and they want to give to others who are strangers. And you form a very strange, instant, very quick, instant, tight, emotional bond with these people. They can be very different, but because you're on this mission together, you become very close, and everyone's very kind to each other, and so forth. And then you come to a realization in the process of helping other people that you're helping yourself. And I think one of the reasons I like to do this is because I meet these very amazing people. So to the right of the snowman, that is on the left of the picture, is a man named Massimo. He's a doctor, and he is from a town in Italy which suffered an earthquake, and the whole town was leveled, including his wife and 2 children. And this was in 2004, 2006. And you can imagine a disaster zone, and Patch likes to go to disaster zones. He's done clowning in refugee camps. He's done clowning in war zones. There's a very good movie, if you're interested in following up, called Clown in Kabul, which is Kabul, Afghanistan. And he took a group of clowns there during the war. And you actually see Ginevra in a very moving scene in that movie. I won't tell you what happens, but Ginevra, the small Italian clown in the previous picture, was there with him. So anyway, Massimo was devastated. That's a good word. You know, devastated, destroyed. Let me find that real quick. I had that in my dictionary here. Devastated. Опустошенный. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I lose the screen sharing?
You did. Sorry.
Okay, I will get it back now. Sorry. I know, because I stopped the slideshow. One sec.
Can see the, yeah, can you guys wait?
Is the slideshow back or no?
No,
No.
not yet.
No? Okay, hold on a second.
Should I do it careful?
Yeah.
Then
Это нормально. Вебинар это такая тонкая штука. But I think
Okay.
got it. All right.
Now let me go back to slideshow. Yeah, so the name of the town that was destroyed was called L'Aquila. It's in the mountains of east central Italy. And just after the disaster, Patch went to L'Aquila and he gave an encouraging speech to the survivors. And he closed the speech by saying, "You should come on the Moscow clown trip." And he took these two doctors who had lost their families entirely. And make a long story short, after several of these clown trips, these men began to feel better. They felt better. You feel better because you're giving to other people, and you know, it's a maxim that when you give to someone else, you give to yourself. You also see that maybe life isn't so bad. You learn more about appreciation, and I'll come back to that theme. But appreciation, you know, when you wake up in the morning and say, "I am lucky to be alive. I am lucky to have hot and cold water," and so on and so forth. It's by comparison, but it's still a good way to learn appreciation in life, and that's one of Patch's main themes. So that goes back to the theme of give till it stops hurting. There's another case where there was an American military doctor who suffered from PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is just psychological stress after a war. And to top it off, his son had committed suicide, and this man was very much destroyed. But he came on a clown trip to Moscow at Patch's recommendation and spent the time in 2 weeks surrounded by really nice people, giving to other people and learning that life is worth living and helping other people. And he actually went back to America and organized the first clown trip for American veterans, because we have a real problem in the United States with veterans who commit suicide. Suicide is very high amongst military veterans, at least in the United States. And he organized a clowning trip for these big, tough military men who were probably going to kill themselves because nothing else was making them feel anything in life anymore. And he took them to Guatemala, which is another place where we do clown trips. And all these men, you could say, were cured of their existential crisis by the end of the trip. So that is what is meant by give till it stops hurting. I literally saw, this is in northern Italy, Verona, the city of Verona in Italy. I was at a conference of clowns, and this man on my right stood up and said before the audience, you know, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what good I do for anybody. He was having an existential crisis. And Patch has a wicked, as the British would say, wicked sense of humor. It means a little evil, but not really evil. But in British slang, wicked means like kind of cool and a little bit evil. So he summons this man to the stage, and he says, okay, first he looks at the audience and says, does anyone know this man? And babbling in Italian, I have no idea what they're saying, but and he asked them, you know, and what do you think of him? So 5 people got up and said really nice things about this guy in public. So he already started to feel better. And then Patch said, you know, I'm a doctor, and he is a doctor. He graduated medical school. He has a degree. He said, and I'm willing to give you a prescription, recept, if you're willing to follow it. If you promise me you'll follow it. So this clown, his name is Me and Louis, was his clown, which is sort of me and him, or me and you. He said, okay, I'll follow your prescription, whatever it is. Okay, you will take this pair of underwear, again, trusi, small version of trusi, as you can see, and you will wear it on your head for 30 days. And I guarantee you, after 30 days, you will feel better, and everyone around you will feel better, because it's funny. And this man agreed to do this. And he couldn't back out. I mean, Patch Адамс, and Patch said, if anyone gives you a hard time, you say, my doctor prescribed this for me, so I have to do it. And I was a little concerned for this fellow, because I thought, well, what if he's a banker or a lawyer or something serious like that? How is he going to go to the office with underwear on his head? But it turns out he was a stonemason, and it worked out okay. And as far as I know, he's doing quite well, just by wearing a pair of underwear on his head. Much better than taking drugs or spending lots of money on psychotherapy. Doesn't work for everybody, but it works.
Sorry, what is a stonemason?
Can you repeat the question?
What is a stonemason?
Stonemason, каменщик? Ну, он работает с камнем, ну, итальянские, они всякие штуки сделают из камня. Stonemason. From the word masone, masons, Freemasons, but now he's free with the underwear on his head, I guess. So, yes, this is another term we use is nasal diplomacy. Nasal refers to the nose. If you have the red nose, you are a diplomat because you go to different countries and make friends. So this is the Russian clown trip standing in front of Mid on Smolenskaya Ploshad in Moscow. There are, as I said, other places to go. We did the first clown trip to Armenia. That was quite dramatic because clowns had never been to Armenia, but we were invited by a successful Armenian who said it's time for Armenia to learn about clowning. And so we went there. That's the picture on the left and on the right. I myself have been to Ecuador. The capital is Quito. It's where the Galapagos Islands are. That was a lot of fun. I did a prison there. My son joined me on that trip. Costa Rica, it's another nice place to go clowning. I have not been to Guatemala or Peru or Morocco or Mexico, but these are all trips. And it's interesting how it's a side story about the divergence of cultures. So now, frequently in the West, and particularly in America and the United Kingdom, clowns are considered scary, frightening. In fact, there are some, I believe in the United Kingdom, they banned or canceled hospital clowning. Much of this has to do with the great writer Stephen King, who made a book called It and a movie called Ano in Russian, where there is a psychotic clown doing evil things. And it is true, there is a word, I forgot to write it down, for fear of clowns, as in phobia. Phobia, like arachnophobia, is a fear of spiders. There's a fear of clowns. But in the United States and in UK, this has gotten to be a problem. Whereas in Latin America, clowns are a little bit like gods. I remember in Costa Rica, someone mistook me for Patch in the airport, and they wanted to buy me a coffee and give me some gifts. so the Latin Americans really like clowns. So Latin America is a good place to go and do clowning. One of the most special places we go to here in Russia is Beslan in northern Ossetia. I think you all know about the tragedy that took place with the terrorist act in northern Ossetia, Beslan, yes? Heard of that? So Maria, this is not Patch now, this is Maria. She every year, twice a year, goes to Beslan and we do clowning and we do master classes at school number 1. We take the children who have now graduated, who were in the terrorist act and survived. Some of them work in our organization. We take care of the health of some of the teachers, and it's a very close relationship. And it's a very beautiful scene to be in the airport of Vladikavkaz, which is really in Beslan itself, on the day when the clowns arrive. We just came back there from the April visit, and you have 30 clowns arriving in this airport. And it's a conservative culture. Ossetian culture is conservative, but it was not always so simple in the beginning. But now we're kind of like a part of the town for these times that we're there, and it's a very nice experience. So there you can see in the middle some of the teachers, and there's Maria from school number 1 in Beslan. A funny story is we have some problems with Patch because he doesn't know any boundaries. Boundaries, granica. He can be a little bit nekulturna sometimes. So for example, I showed you the picture of him walking into the metro with his naked legs. He did that in Chechnya once and he nearly got killed because he went into the market, and it's a Muslim society where nobody shows any part of their body. And I have to say consciously, he decided not to respect or be concerned about that because he's Patch. So different clowns have different boundaries, but he doesn't know boundaries very well. So we didn't bring him again to Chechnya. And when we brought him to Ossetia, we made him promise not to pick up his pants. So even he can find a common language sometimes. To say that this work is exhausting is an understatement. I don't know if any of you are teachers. Is there some teachers in the room now? Anybody? No teachers? You have no teachers in Arhangelsk? How can that be? Okay. I mean, you know about the energy exchange between the teacher and the student. There's something similar here, because when you're actively trying to connect with people, you get energy back, but you also give out probably more than you get back. And so it can be very tiring work to do 2 or 3 hours of clowning in a day. We might go by bus to 2 places, sometimes 3, depending on traffic. And it's an exhausting project. This is just my closing slide. I think is just hilarious. In the picture, you see one of our classic clowns, a man from Holland, who always had his chicken with him, rubber chicken. And he wound up, this picture of him on Red Square was used in an article describing how Muscovites are losing their minds, are going crazy, are becoming psychotic. So he was very honored to be a good American idiomatic expression is the poster child. You can write that down. Poster is plakat, child это ребенок. And our friend Case here became the poster child for insane Muscovites. The origin of the phrase comes from a charity in America for children with cerebral palsy. And they would make a plakat every year, a poster to help raise money. And every year they would pick a different child and put his picture on the poster. So if you say someone is the poster child, it means he's the ultimate representation. So our friend Case the clown became the ultimate representation of insane Muscovites. So I think on that note, I'll pause. There's a lot more I could talk about clowning, but maybe you have some questions about clowning, about life in general. I'm happy to answer any question you can ask in Russian. Не стесняйтесь, я никаких вопросов не боюсь. And I will be happy to hear what is going on in your minds in this remote format.
Да, можете кричать свободно, потому что я в следующий раз принесу микрофон, то есть у нас еще будут вебинары продолжаться. Вот, сейчас просто микрофон вон, синий. Okay. Может, мячик какой-то засветить мяч? Можно кидать.
Can I ask the following question? Are clowns provided with some instructions on how to act if the contacting is not too warmly received? Like, or are they supposed to figure it out by themselves?
It's a very good question. As I said, when you join the clown group, assuming you have no clowning experience, you come in a little bit nervous and you say, what do I do? What do I not do? And so on and so forth. There is no formal training, although we will do maybe, we have done a workshop before we go out to answer questions like yours. Really, the answer Patch would give you is go on your instinct. You know, you as a normal human can tell if you're making someone uncomfortable. For example, you go into a hospital and there is a corridor and there are doors. And the chief nurse will say, okay, you know, you have an hour, go terrorize my patients. You go up to a door and you knock. And you open the door and you put your strange looking face and nose through the door. And all clowns know the word można. And then you understand, are you welcome in the room or not? Pretty quickly, regardless of your language. So there's some good common sense things. And there's also an important rule that you must always copy, or you may always copy and steal the behavior, tricks, jokes, and ideas of your fellow clowns. So there are some documents, and I'd even be happy to share them. I have somewhere, you know, like briefings that are given in writing to clowns before we go somewhere. So it's a mixture, not terribly formal, much of it based on common sense, but you can learn pretty quickly, and it's rare that someone does something. I've never heard of someone doing something that is bad.
Давайте на русском, да. Рома, давай.
What about aggressive humans? I mean, not all people like clowns. Ну, как вы себя ведете, если вам агрессию проявляют при работе? Такие вот люди бывают, встречаются.
Половина слышу, половина не слышу. Как вы себя ведете на улицу, если...
Я говорю, как вы себя ведете с людьми, которые проявляют к вам агрессию при работе? Не все ведь люди любят клоунов.
Если я правильно слышу, как мы себя ведем, когда мы встречаемся с кем-нибудь, который не хочет с нами общаться? Что-то в этом роде, да? This happens. And again, this is the difference in clowns. There are some clowns who go a little bit too far and get excited by that kind of conflict, but it's very rare, and we discourage that. You know, I've had situations where you know, people will, first of all, I found that as soon as you explain to someone what you're doing and that you're primarily working with disabled children, unless they're completely ненормальные, ну ладно, это хорошо, вы молодцы. Ну, даже какой-то злой, бывает таких. I remember once, clowns are not very organized, and when we landed at the airport, one of Patch's bags was lost, and he thought it had fallen off the telежка, the luggage cart, in front of the airport. I was staying at the airport, dressed as a clown, to meet other clowns on different flights. So I said, okay, you go, and I will get the video of around the airport and see if we can't find the bag. Do you understand me so far? So it turns out that although the primary security force at Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport is the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The people who manage the cameras is the Federальная служба безопасности. So I had to find the door of the FSBшnik and knock on the door and say, hello, I would like to see if we could find this missing luggage. Very large man comes out, looking at me. And he wanted me to explain в общем, о чем речь, откуда я взялся и так далее. And I can remember his complete bewilderment, write that word down, bafflement, confusion, synonyms, bewilder, baffle, confuse, at the idea that a foreigner would pay money, because you have to pay money to Patch to come to Russia. You have your airfare and the fees of the hotel, and it's like a big no, it's a paid trip. But the idea that a foreigner was paying money to come to Russia to spend time with Russian orphans and old people, it just, кто вам платит? Вы чей проект? Ну вот типа того. No. Мы платим. But again, he was looking me in the eye. I was looking him in the eye. We understood each other, and I think at the end of the day, his confusion was reduced. So it's about communicating, even in that situation. Of course, you have to know when to stand back. Okay, have a nice day. Хорошего дня. Извините. So бывает. Patch has been arrested on Red Square twice. Patch likes to be arrested on Red Square. It's his dream of being arrested on Red Square. I don't want to be arrested on Red Square, but Patch likes to. So.
Okay, now I'm gonna throw the ball very carefully. You gotta ask a question. You gotta participate. Come on.
Hi, Justin.
Hello.
My name is Ivan. Pleased to meet you.
Ivan, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, thank you for your story. I have two questions. The first
Please.
one, who are all these people behind you?
Perfect. I am the cameraman.
And the second one, when are you going to visit Russia next time? Maybe. You are in Russia now?
I've been in Russia for 37 years.
You're in Moscow.
Yes, I'm in the Oblast.
Sorry.
It's okay. I hope to visit Arhangels soon, and we can do some clowning if you want.
Yeah.
I'll answer the first question. So as part of the Russian trip, it always has the same pattern. We do a week in Moscow and a week in St. Petersburg. And in St. Petersburg, we always go to the Summer Palace.
Летний дворец.
Yeah, Летний дворец. And with the blessing of the authorities, so to speak, for a brief moment, we take over the big zal, the самый большой зал, where the floor is the parquet, and we all lie down and we take a picture. So this is the clown pile picture, which клоунов, фотография, which every year does. Important to say, you don't have to go on a clown trip to do clowning. You can make your own nose, or you can go without a nose and agree with the local hospital. I mean, now, of course, with COVID, it's very hard, but there are places you can go or will be able to go again when, 2 or 3 people get together, they dress strangely and decide to interact. And you don't have to be an actor. I mean, it's just, you can, children in hospitals, children hate being in hospitals, you know that. So Patch likes to say you should clown all the time. I mean, he does, he lives that. I would have some troubles if I walked into my serious day job office dressed as a clown. I do wear a funny hat and my boss looks at me like that, but whatever.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, can you pass the ball to somebody else? Just anybody, pick anybody. That's nobody wants nobody ever wants the ball.
I have
Oh.
a question about finance. Do you have any finance support from the state or any state organization?
No,
Another
none
question-
whatsoever.
Oh, really? You don't have?
No, none whatsoever. You're carrying the ball. What is your name?
Irina.
Irina. Hi, Irina. No, Patch, Patch is funny. He's not a good fundraiser. He gets private donations. but he doesn't get any money from the government, and the people who are participating are paying themselves. Maria, so the partner organization here is called Maria's Children. You can look that up, Maria's Children. And it's run by Maria Liseva, who I spend much of my free time volunteering for her. And yeah, she gets some grants for doing, we're doing a project with socializing orphans coming out of детского дома, internat, and so forth. But in general, you know, part of the beauty of that story is that she and her husband Ilya, you know, he was a programmer earning $300 a month, and giving half of it to her so she could feed. They now have 5 daughters of their own. They have another, it's hard to calculate, but any given time, she's got another 3 to 10 children around her that she's taking care of that are either graduates or something like that. And over time, you could multiply that probably by 20, meaning how many children she's personally taken care of. And of course, it's very nice that Yandex became a success and they had an IPO. So Maria herself is financially secure and she gives most of her money to her operation. So she's not desperate for money either. It's more, the thing she likes is that when other people believe in what she's doing and participate, including financially, but it's not critical in her case.
Okay, thanks. Somebody else. Just anybody, just don't throw it because we had people hit by balls. It's the whole thing. Just, yeah.
Justin, do you
What?
know Patch Adams personally?
Where is Svetlana? I'm trying to, I got it. Okay.
Svetlana, can you repeat the question, Svetlana?
Do you know Patch Adams personally?
Oh yes, very well, very well. So I first went to one of these. How I got involved was I was a successful IT salesman. The information technology sales have always been a very good business in a country like Russia that was growing rapidly. So I had a lot of money at the time. I don't now, but I would go to the charity ball that Maria and Patch would run every year for Maria's organization. And I saw a boy with cerebral palsy, DCP, come to the microphone, and he said, what he was saying was, я бы хотел, чтобы вы потратили большие деньги на эту картинку, которую я делал, чтобы покупать коляску для другого ребенка. And I hit myself on the head. I said, what is this? What the hell is, I don't understand. This boy, here's a good and kind of rough, I think probably American idiomatic expression. He doesn't have a pot to piss in. Буквально у него сам нет горшок, и он хочет кому-то чего-то помочь. No, это not too rude. It's not too rude to say he doesn't have a pot to piss in, does it?
No, it's fine.
Borderline. The point is, I said to myself, I've never seen this before. Here's someone who, in my opinion, needs help, and he wants to help someone else. What is that? Well, the answer is Maria's Children. That's her philosophy, is you get children to help other children or people to help other people, and they become stronger and better and more socialized. So Patch and Maria were running this auction, and I began first as a donor, and then I started as a volunteer. And because sometimes I'm a writer and a journalist, I became very close with Patch as well. At one point, he wanted me to edit a book of his letters. Because I told you he only writes letters, and he sent me a stack like this big of letters. He said, I want to make it into a book. We didn't do that, but I've been to his original, you'll see in the movie, this kind of commune that he built as his medical center. I've been there. I've done research, met a lot of his friends. I've organized lectures for him in Russia and other places. So, I mean, he's a very interesting guy. And, you know, he can repeat himself because A, he's getting older, and B, he has the same message again and again. So it was very interesting because I called him about 3 weeks ago He's now 76. He's about to be 76. Yeah, he was going to have his 75th. He had his 75th birthday. Many of us were going to fly to him and congratulate him as a surprise, but we couldn't because of COVID. But he just had half of his leg removed, cut off, because he had an infection in his foot. And you know, most of us, if we had half our leg removed, we might be a little bit down. I called up Patch thinking I would cheer him up, and I am not exaggerating. There is a phrase, practice what you preach. Сделай, как вы читаете все, ну, короче.
Как это пословица-то?
Ну, в общем, если ты что-то проповедуешь, ты должен сам следовать своим.
Да, точно. And I can say firmly, Patch is a person who is not at all hypocritical. I called him up and he was joyous. And he proudly, and he said, call me Stumpy. I don't even know how to say Stumpy in Russian.
Stumpy, как пират без ноги до одной, как это будет? Одноногий, да, типа того.
Обрубок, пенек. He said, my new nickname, my новая кличка is Stumpy. And I'm very happy because within a month, I will get a very good fake leg.
Ну, простатическую ногу? Не проститутскую ногу. Протез.
Протез, yeah. He said, I will get a protez, and then in 2 months, I will be able to dance and clown again. Patch loves to dance to old American rock and roll music. His favorite song is Johnny Be Good, which you probably heard. And he was genuinely joyful about what was going to happen to him in the future. And if you study, you know, Buddhism or, you know, the idea is to be in the present, or maybe a little bit in the future, but you never let the past bother you. And he's definitely like that. So I thought that was very.
Yeah, okay. So what, one more question maybe, and then we can wrap things up. Who wants to be the next guinea pig? Nick, please, yeah. The legend returns. Ooh.
Nick catches the ball.
That was a great catch, yeah.
I'm Nikolai.
Do you want to come up here? Потому что микрофон здесь, а ты там, и будет не слышно будет. А? Closer, come closer, like way over here. Where I'm at.
Contact.
Да, контакт. Вперед. First contact. Okay. Yeah, here's the microphone. Okay, you can ask your question on this. Make it loud.
Okay, sorry, my English, but I try to say in English. Slava Polunin said, don't try to be adult. Live in childhood. Did you catch me?
Yes, I did. I understood everything you said.
Did you agree with this?
100%. That is definitely one of the places where Slava and Patch agree, that it's all about regaining your childhood, and you find the inner child, they call it the inner child. For me, it's not so easy. Sometimes I can do it, but Patch is constantly, and it's actually a problem with Patch because Patch loves to talk about farting. I'm sorry. Patch loves one of his favorite toys is a piece of fake snot. So it's made of silicone, but it looks like a kozyavka. And he loves to go around with it, showing it to people. He will put it in your mouth with great pleasure. He will make you lie back and you will drop the snot into your mouth. And he actually has a funny policy. I sometimes work as his bodyguard because we'll be in public and someone will say, oh, selfie. No selfie. Only 3 ways for selfie with Patch. And they'll say, what is it? He says, number 1, you have to do this. Or number 2, you have to do this. Or number 3, I can't even remember what number 3 is. But people will say, oh, but I don't want to look silly. He says, I'm not making you look silly. I'm giving you medicine. What do you mean you're giving me this? I said, look, you will take the picture, whatever. And then one day when you're feeling a little bit down, you will take out the picture and you'll smile and you'll feel better. So I'm giving you medicine. That's the only way you will take a selfie with me. So yes, the child has to be in there, but everyone has it. I have been on so many clown trips where you'll get people say, oh, I can't do this. And by the end of the day, the new clowns are the best clowns. They're rolling on the floor, laughing, blowing bubbles, whatever. It comes out of people. So yes, 100% agree.
Okay.
Okay. In Russian, maybe this question more
Можно
more
по-русски?
interesting. You see, не взрослейте, это засада. Это же Полунин said. Trap, yes, trap. Yes.
Don't grow up, it'll kill you.
It's a trap.
Trap,
Yeah.
yeah. A little more dramatic, but yeah, it's a trap. Yeah, don't avoid growing up. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Nick. Very, very, very good point.
All right.
One
Okay, one more. Yeah, okay. We got people with more questions. If you got time, Justin. You know, we got a couple.
I have plenty of time. I have plenty
All
of time.
right. Okay. Yeah, he can see you. All right.
Yeah, Justin, did I get it right? You have a double citizenship.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I got Russian citizenship in 2000.
Oh, I actually want to ask you this. Are you considered a Russian citizen first, just like I am? Because I also have dual citizenship. How does it work?
This is the law everywhere. If I'm a citizen of the Russian Federation and I'm in Russia, Russia doesn't care if I have another passport. When I'm in the United States, with my American passport, I'm American, and no one cares if I have a Russian passport. When I was younger, I worked for the State Department. I worked for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I had security clearances. I probably couldn't get a security clearance now because of my second citizenship, but I don't care. I don't want one.
Right. Interesting. Okay, Maria. Maria, did you want to say something else?
No, I just wanted to ask another question on this. Did you have to serve in the army?
The Russian army, you mean? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a funny story. I got my Russian citizenship in 2000 when I was 35. And I thought, oh, good, I don't need to get a visa anymore. I'll just go get a Zagran passport. And I went to the, я уже забыл, кто раздавал паспорты, когда, где. I said, yes, but we need your военный билет. I said, well, you look at me, I got gray hair, I'm 35, I didn't serve. So you have to have a военный билет. I cannot give you a Zagran passport. Okay. So I went to the local военкомат, and they were very entertained to see this middle-aged American man show up asking for a военный билет. But they said, okay, we'll give you, you're a citizen, you have a right to a военный билет. So they asked me questions, and they just wrote in the billet while I was sitting there, and they said, well, where did you study? And I said, Корнельский университет, which is a pretty good university in the United States. What did you study? And I said, у меня есть диплом советолог. Я вот изучал советское правительство, культура и так далее. And so on and so on. And they gave me the billet, and I went home, and I was married at the time, and I showed my wife, and it said, because I had second citizenship, he said, even though I had a higher education, I could not be an officer. So I could only be a рядовой, резервный рядовой. And it said специальный советолог. And my ex-wife said, oh, that's great. You can read Marx and Lenin to the troops at the front. So, but yeah, so I have a военный билет, but I have not served in any army.
Nice. Okay. That's man, I don't even have a военный билет. I mean, I have to go and talk to these people. That's gonna be fun. I was actually stopped at the border where we're gonna go to Turkey. I was like, here's my US passport, bye. And they were like, here's a fine. So that was a bad idea.
A fine for what?
A fine for not having the right documents at the border, because I gave them my US, I had my Russian, I didn't have the Zagran. So
No. Yeah. You're not an American. Sorry. I mean,
exactly.
Bass music.
Yeah, fun times. So yeah. Anyway, so let's all thank Justin for his time, for the amazing webinar. This was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. What about you guys?
Yeah.
Da. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin.
С удовольствием.
Да, мы просто ждем, когда уже с коронавирусом закончится. Это один из наших спикеров. Вот у нас есть архангельская программа спикеров, которую я веду. И как только он же в России, ему будет гораздо проще сюда приехать. То есть
Завтра.
можно завтра, программа закроется завтра.
Какая программа? Я гражданин, я имею право приехать в Архангельске.
Все. Приезжай.
Под одной лодке, и все будет хорошо.
Да, карантин у нас как раз на майские праздники, да, кофе, печенье, которое я обещал, все будет. Anyway.
Я жду, не дождусь, ребят. Спасибо большое за внимание, за интересные вопросы. Готов ответить на любой, и будем на связи.
Отлично. Большое спасибо, Джастин. Thank you.
Thank you.
Пока.
Yeah, clap. Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Спасибо.
See you. Ага.
Давай. Всего хорошего.
Мгм.